Hello and welcome to The Rest is Football with Micah Richards and me, Gary Lineker. There's no Alan Shearer again today as he's on his way back from Frankfurt after the England game against Denmark, which of course finished 1-1. Micah, we were in the studio for that game with Rio and Thomas Frank. And Thomas is actually, if you can hear a little bit of mumbling in the background, that is... we've got Thomas Frank, we've got David Moyes, and we've got our editor of the show, Richard Hughes.
And he just said he's listening to all our bullshit.
Well, I'm glad he's listening. We worked together today. We've had a bit of dinner.
Lovely dinner.
And who cooked it?
Hold on.
Wasn't me.
You got moved to the bench today.
I did.
Because there was a bit of chaos with you. I'm not going to lie.
What do you mean?
There was fire alarms going off.
I don't mind fire alarms.
Pasta was overcooked. Meat was...
Pasta was overcooked.
It wasn't. I'm joking.
I'll have a nervous breakdown if you say that.
The pasta was
you
brilliant.
think about my mental health, please.
But we bought in a replacement.
Yeah.
Harry.
I know,
Harry Lineker. He made a beautiful spaghetti bolognese with a pinch of spice.
A bit more than a pinch.
Yeah, a pinch
He's
of
he's
spice.
actually quite talented in the kitchen, but
He's magnificent.
yeah, he never lived up to his dad's expectations on the pitch. But he's not bad. He's not bad in the kitchen. No, he's given me. Do you know what he's just done?
What's he done?
He gave me the wanker sign. I mean, have some respect for your
Come
father,
on,
please.
H.
I mean,
you know, before we start today, something magical happened today on
well, it wasn't England.
On air. Well, it wasn't England. It was the fact that you managed to keep your composure in an incident where I would have scrambled. So what basically happened was you were supposed to go to a Gareth Southgate interview. You then
fucked up.
went to go to Thomas Frank to ask him about Gareth.
Which I was supposed to after the Gareth Southgate
And
interview.
it was lined up. So my head was scrambled thinking, oh my God, there's an awkward, like it was 1 second in TV world of,
but that's nothing.
like in the studio,
Yeah.
but the viewers back home might not have sensed anything at all. But the way you transitioned from one thing to another was impeccable. And you know I never give you credit, ever.
Well, you do, to be honest, occasionally. But it was probably like Marc Guéhi, who had a brilliant game, right? And then at one point, he messed up, gave the ball away, and he retrieved it. And that's fine. That's what. And live telly is a bit like that sometimes. I mean, Richard is our editor. He's over there, and he's I'm going to whisper this. He's the best in the business. He's listening. Look, he's listening.
Oh, you heard that, did you?
Yeah, I know. The bullshit is continuing. I'd forgotten that we were going to do the Southgate interview first, and I just got in my head that I was going to ask Thomas about Gareth Southgate and his thoughts of his job and stuff like that. And then halfway through me asking that question, Richard's, he's going, "Oh, we've got to go to the Gareth Southgate interview first." But that's fine. Sometimes, it's live. It's like you make mistakes in football pitches. You deal with it.
Yeah, but how do you deal with that? Because it's live television. We're not pre-record. I know a lot of people think we're still maybe 5 seconds, 10 seconds behind.
Do you know why? Because I've got a lot of experience. And I also know that ultimately, television is not going to change anyone's life. No one's mood, particularly. And also, people at home like it when you fuck up. The only thing you can never do, and I'll give you this advice now, because it will happen to you on live television, as it happened to me tonight, you suddenly go, oh shit. Don't worry about it. And sometimes it's better to tell people at home, which I did on the way back when I deliberately asked him exactly the same question. It doesn't matter. And perhaps share the fact that you get it wrong.
But did that stress you out when you was earlier on in my career?
Early on in my career, I can remember a couple of times where I've gone, boom, the one thing you can't do is freeze and just go, and that would have happened in the first few years when I did TV. I can remember I used to do football, folks, and I'd drive home on Saturdays, and lots of weeks I used to think, I'm never going to be able to do this presenting lot. But you learn, and you learn that doesn't matter if you make a mistake.
You just got to own it.
Doesn't matter. Own it. Own it. It's fine. So it's got a bit of a... Are they laughing at us over there or what?
You're not having a lot of fun over there, are you?
The game's over. The game's over. I suppose we should end the fun here and start talking about the football match.
Correct, yeah.
It was... I found it such an infuriatingly frustrating watch this evening. David's glass is empty, by the way.
Could someone fill him up, please? I mean, it's just...
No. David, there's a reason. There's a reason that your glass is empty, because it was very much a glass empty performance from England. It really was. God, there was nothing to cheer, really. I mean, and do you know what? You talk about making a little mistake on television, that doesn't matter. But when you play for England, you make mistakes so you don't perform. That matters to a lot of people because it affects the nation's mood. And us as pundits, the last thing in the world you want to do, particularly when there's an international game that involves England, where everybody wants them to do well, is have a poor performance. And you don't want... We are like everyone at home. We don't want England to play bad. We want them desperately to play well, particularly when we're doing the live game, because it's the feel-good factor that comes into it, isn't it?
Of course. But I think we've got the balance right. We were measured.
I think we have to reflect the mood of the nation. I can't imagine anybody that is English that would have enjoyed England's performance, because it was lethargic. It was dour. I mean, you can think of all sorts of, words and expletives if you like, but it was shit.
Yeah, I think the fact of, and I didn't go too strong after the game, because at the end of the day, you we've won one game against Serbia.
You're top of the group. You're pretty much certain of going through. Well, you are certain of going through.
It's just for me as a pundit, you're watching it and you're trying to show the viewer something that they might not have seen, or try to educate in some sort of way. I just feel that when you've got a team that's got so many top talents, so you've got Stones at the back, who normally at Man City we see him coming into midfield.
I know.
We see Walker one-on-one with the best wingers in the world handling him. Guéhi, who have mentioned,
he was I would say the one exception to the rule, if you like.
Exactly. Trippier and Trippier was okay.
I thought Trippier did okay.
He did okay.
Yeah.
We know, obviously, he's right-footed playing left back. He's not going to give you the width, and he's not going to get crosses into the box. He did well, in fairness. But the fact of the space between defence and attack, as a unit, we're just not working together.
Was it tactically inept? And I know. The thing is also it's really hard to be critical of Gareth Southgate, because overall in the England role, he's turned England's fortunes around in many ways. Having said that, he's kind of ended up adopting a really talented bunch of players. We've done a semi-final of the World Cup, a final of the European Championships, quarter-final of the subsequent World Cup, where to be honest, we're a little bit unlucky. Yeah. What he's done is he's an amazing leader. He's a great communicator. He's transformed the public's opinion of the national team and the players and stuff like that. And he's been brilliant on that. But tactically, the first game was, and we've seen it in other tournaments as well, where, England would kind of start okay and then get a goal, and then everything changes. And it's almost like those kind of tactics of get a lead, hang on to it, and the game's moved on from that, hasn't it?
That's exactly it. There was a good article actually that I was reading before the game, and when England go a goal up, they try to protect what they have, and that's it's a coincidence. It's by design. That's exactly what they're set out to do from Gareth's point of view,
which is fine if you've got a not particularly talented team.
Correct.
And that's what's frustrating, isn't it?
That is what's frustrating. And you made a point about Trent Alexander-Arnold going into midfield. And I totally agree with you. But my point on that was, if he's going to play midfield, giving a run of games
Before.
in that position. Because going from fullback or, the positions that he takes up on the right or right wing when he's crossing in and he's going to the byline, it's completely different to that role. And I just think he's sort of been, I won't say hung out to dry, but he's got more than what he's showing. But because of the system that's being deployed, he's not been able to show his greatest strengths,
Yeah.
And that is the frustrating thing. We talked about Foden being on the left. In the game, I thought he did some good work in the number 10 role.
When he sneaked into the middle.
Exactly. Now we have to look, and we're talking about what formation should we play. Bellingham and Rice have to play as the two in midfield, and Foden.
Have we said that since the start?
You have said that.
No, we all have.
We all have.
You've said it.
It was all in our teams.
Most people say it.
But it has to happen now. And it's easy for us as pundits and presenters to have our opinions and all that, but it's just for the balance of the team is not correct right now. No matter whatever you look at it. And it's shown that over the two games. Serbia, no respect to Serbia, you should be beating them. Denmark, although they was very well organised and got some good players, we should be beating Denmark.
They clearly won the tactical battle.
They did.
By a mile.
Exactly that. Yeah. And that's what the frustrating thing is to see so many good players. And that's why I asked Thomas Frank when we was doing the coverage on BBC, sometimes is it too... Do you have too much when you've got too many good players? Does it make it more difficult is a question I was
having
asking.
11 really shit players.
But exactly. But do you want 12? Do you want 15? Do you want 18 that you can pick out of? And the fact is, I think at the moment, Gareth is just trying to get the best rated players on the pitch, which is not necessarily the best for the balance of the team. He's playing Foden, he's playing Trent, and we all call for them, Trent and Foden, to be playing, but we're playing them in a system that suits them higher up the pitch.
I absolutely agree with everything you said, but what I will say that I find inexplicable, to be perfectly honest, is... We watched Spain play just now, right? Spain, completely high press, really, really high. They've got excellent technical players. So have England. Why does England not play the high press? They might play it for about 3 minutes in the game. Are they not coached to play that? I mean, maybe it's... And we discussed this, didn't we, on the air? And you feel a little bit sort of guilty because for Harry Kane, but... Can you do it with Harry Kane that way? I think you can. I think you've got to say to your striker, Harry, however good he is, you've got to buy into this, Harry. Correct. You don't need to do too much, but it needs to come from your forward player. And you could also argue, but the midfield players behind have got to buy into it and push behind. But that's got to come from the management.
Correct.
That's got to come from the management. And England do not play high press. The times in the Southgate reign that I've been impressed with England most are when they've played the high press. Now, when he's done it, it's only lasted for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, maybe a half, but it's never happened. And I don't understand why. I can't get why England plays so deep and they were stretched and Harry either, he just ambles back and I think you've got to say to Harry, good as you are, you've also got to you've got to be the first man of the press. But if he's not telling him that, then you can't blame Harry Kane. It's not that he's not trying at all. Of course he is. I mean, he's an unbelievable player. He's arguably the best finisher that England has ever had. He scored more goals than anyone else, but he's magical when he's got the ball and he's 20 yards out and he can score from anywhere. He hardly ever misses a chance. But, he's in his 30s now and he's never been massively mobile. But I watched this game. I watched his performance really closely because I was slightly worried in the first game. I don't know whether he's tired or, and it's like Alan Shearer said at the game. He said, when I got in my 30s, I found it really hard anymore. But... Therefore, don't waste your breath just ambling back and trying to help out defensively. We don't need you in defence. Stay high. Because if he stays high, the rest of the team will automatically go, at least they've got something to hit. And he's good at holding up the ball. So I understand it from the perspective, but it makes it really difficult because I think Harry's. There are pros and cons to Harry, and the fact is, he's an unbelievable finish. And if you were 1-1 in the semi-final of the Euros, and you had a man going through 1-on-1 on goal, you'd want it to be Harry Kane all day long. And he's brilliant. I love him, and I always have. And I feel, and makes you feel a little bit guilty to be critical about him. But I watched him today, and I don't think I saw a sprint. And I don't know why.
So how can he simplify his game?
Stay high.
To do
Micah, stay high. Stay really high. And then every now and again, you give yourself a target, and then you lean into a defender one way, and then you come back and make it short. I mean, he's never been much of a player that spins and gets behind players. But if you stay high, the whole team can get higher. But also, I feel for Harry because I think the tactical issues are a problem, and it makes it a problem for him. So I think when the team is so distant and plays so deep, therefore Harry feels the need to have a connection with the whole team. So he wanders back, and I understand why he does that. And I wouldn't be critical of him. And if anyone says that the England team is not trying or not giving 100%, that is nonsense. They're just a little bit lost tactically. And that comes from the manager, I'm afraid. It really does. He has got to get England playing higher up the pitch as a unit, because at the moment they're not a unit. So Harry is trying to make the team a unit by coming right back and to keep the team together. And I understand why he does it, but it's the wrong thing to do.
Do you think
what he should be saying as the captain is, no, get out, come up, support me, and let's press. But he's also got to play his part by being the first person to press, and then everybody follows in, because you can't press as half a team. You've got to press as an entire team.
But do you think that's because Gareth Southgate was a defender?
Yes.
Is that where you think his philosophy comes from? When you've got something, protect that lead. I mean, you'll know him a little bit better than me in his playing days.
Yeah, I think probably. I think there's, even if it's subconsciously, I think he errs on the side of caution. I think I've heard him say many times that, great expansive teams win football matches with great games, but teams that win tournaments are pragmatic. I'm not sure that's the case anymore.
Football's moved on, hasn't it?
It's moved on. Everyone, the really good teams now, they press as a team. They press high.
Germany.
Spain. Can England do that with Harry Kane? I think you tell Harry Kane you've got to do that. Harry, you got to do that.
And I think he will do that.
Of course he will. He might not do it in as sharp a manner as some other players, because he's not that kind of guy. But he's a great pro. He will understand what his instructions are, and then everybody else gets behind him, because the centre forward has to be the initial press, particularly if it starts in the middle. And once you go in, everybody else goes in behind him. I find it not exasperating, but slightly inexplicable that England don't do that, because all their players do that at club level, except probably for Harry. Saka at Arsenal, Rice at Arsenal, Bellingham, they play slightly differently at Real Madrid, but he can buy to that. He can do that all day long. You've got Foden that does that at Manchester City, albeit he's at his best in a central position. Gordon does it if you wanted to bring him at Newcastle, because he's the most natural player to play on that side. So they all know how to do that. They all play that way for their club sides, because Liverpool play that way, Arsenal play that way, Manchester City in particular play that way. So why would you play a different style of football with a bunch of players that are used to playing a high press? I find it weird.
Strange.
And I wonder whether, because you could see in Gareth after the game, you could see he was a bit down, and he got that they were poor. And I really like Gareth, and it pains me to criticise him, and it pains me to criticise Harry Kane as well. But Harry Kane's your captain. So even Harry has got to go. You could see Harry Kane, he said, we can't work out why we can't press high. Well, that has
it was bold, in fairness, Southgate. He did make a couple of substitutions.
He did.
He brought off Saka, Kane, and Foden. Brought on Watkins. He brought on Bowen.
Yeah.
As well,
and he brought on Gallagher.
But
I saw his quote after, and this was what really I thought. Really, he talked about, I've never been able to replace Calvin Phillips, and I thought, oh come on,
Well, Wharton could do that job.
Wharton could do that job easily.
Mainoo's been
Mainu could do that
outstanding
job
for Man United this season.
If you want two holding players, Gareth, you can do that. But Bellingham could do that.
100%.
You know, but you've got to tell players. Bobby Robson, Terry Venables would have gone, this is what you've got to do for the team. This is your job. You've got footballers will give everything. They always give everything. But do you know one thing they need? They need to know exactly what their job is.
But we've talked about it many times throughout the season about mentality.
Yeah.
And we've talked about characters. Surely
there's characters in there, Micah. These are successful footballers.
The manager wants you to set up a certain way. We've played in teams where the manager said, do this, Micah. And on the pitch, you've got to take responsibility as well. Then, okay, the manager says, okay, we want you here tactically when they have the ball. We'll press at this moment in time or whenever it may be on the pitch. But I'm struggling to see, and we know Bellingham, he's a leader. We want to see more leaders. I did an analysis on Phil Foden about having that personality, demanding the ball, or it's up to his centre-halves. I know Guéhi was outstanding, we'll talk about him a little bit later. Stones, his centre-halves. Can you say, push up the pitch? Their first four in the game today was drop off all the time.
Why?
Well, that's what I'm trying to say, because
why? This is
in
my
an interview
point.
from Kyle Walker, he said that the manager is not telling them to drop off, which I'm not sure I fully believe, but you have to take it as gospel with Kyle Walker, that he's saying to take the game towards them, but I don't know if it's subconsciously, I don't know if it's the tactics from the manager, but they're dropping way too deep. It's costing them.
That comes from the coach, though. I mean, you know as well as I do, every player needs to know his role. If every player is told that, right, this is how we go, we play high up the pitch. I looked at the back four. They were always like, they never got out. They got out really slowly.
Correct.
I mean, I don't understand defending. I never have. But what I do understand is that a team needs to be compact. And if you're compact in the last third, you're going to be in trouble.
You know why I agree with you? Because it happened throughout the game. If
exactly
in the first half, if you're not high enough, you get a rollicking from the manager. Get up the pitch.
It never changed.
Get up. It never changed. So that's why I do it.
But it's not too late, because England are top of the group and all that, and they can get through and soft. But with this, he's blessed with the players he's got. But you've got to play high now. And Harry Kane said in his interview, didn't he? We don't really know how to do it. And I'm thinking
that was concerning.
Beyond concerning.
To come out and say that in an interview. With the experience of and when we're not talking about, yes, they're young players, but Bellingham's won the Champions League.
Exactly.
So has Phil Foden.
They've won Football of the Year.
League. There's the Kyle Walker, the Stones. Like we can't use that as an excuse anymore. These are.
I guarantee you, right? The players will be going, we need leadership from the top, and we need to be told how to play, because footballers can't do it on their own. They're young men, and in your own individual world, but you need to know your own job, and that has to come from your coaching staff. And it pains me to say it, but at the moment, England are not playing that way.
It can change.
And I've seen this tournament after tournament now with an unbelievably gifted bunch of players, and they're playing way below their best. You can scrape through various games playing in a negative manner because we've got brilliant individuals, but you're not going to beat the best doing that. You've got to be brave. You can't play and worry about your team's weaknesses. You've got to play to your team's strengths. And our team's strengths are unbelievable talent in high parts of the pitch. Get forward as a unit, though. Get your back four high, get your midfield high, and then you can allow people like Kane to press. But at the moment, he doesn't. I understand it's difficult for Harry, but you can make him press, and then he can be the first one. He only has to do one little sprint.
Exactly.
And then everyone else follows in, and England will be much better. Now, managers, they can waffle. They can talk stuff. I can't stop.
Don't shut up. It's embarrassing. Oh, you were so great. Oh, you were so... When are you getting back into work, David? It's embarrassing. absolutely embarrassing.
Micah, don't speak too loud. They might hear you say. But it's great. They're great. You know, we've had dinner. We have a few glasses of wine.
You know what?
We love talking football. Managers love talking football.
We love football.
To be honest, let's not speak too loudly. But two great guys, and Richard's all right as well.
You know what? you know what? We see David Moyes. Yeah. He's a legend of the game.
Yeah.
We've spoke about him when he left West Ham.
Yeah.
We give him a good send-off on the pod, as expected.
And he came on as a guest.
But you don't understand the person. When you see David Moyes, it's just the manager and the stress he goes through trying to build teams.
And you think
so well at Everton
and hard.
But he's honestly an amazing person, along with Thomas Frank. I think
lovely.
Coming out here and do the coverage for BBC.
And it's part of the reason that I feel really bad about being critical of Gareth Southgate. Because Gareth Southgate is equally
he's the nicest.
A fucking great
you've got to call
human
it how
being.
You see it.
He's a great human being, but we have to. And I just hope he transforms things and he just changed the way of playing. We've been a bit negative. England have got 4 points, but they might conceivably finish second, which would mean they'll probably play. Well, they would play Germany.
I thought you said we were going positive.
No,
that's not positive.
No, I'm going.
Germany will batter us.
No. Well, they will if we play the way we're doing.
Yes, they will. It can only get better.
But that's the thing.
It can only get better. I'm telling you.
But with tournament football. Excuse me, what's your language in the background? What's your language, Thomas Frank? When you get to know managers, you don't want to be too critical, but it's our job. So we have to say honestly what we think, and it's never personal.
Never.
And Gareth's a wonderful human being, and he's done a great job with England, and he's transformed the nation's mood with it. But play him higher, man. Play him higher. And I think you can turn it around because they've got the quality. And you're not saying, I don't buy into this fact that Premier League players are just tired at this time.
No.
I mean, I've played in World Cups after long, arduous season and European Championships, and I was really, really shit in European Championships. But good in World Cups. But you don't, the adrenaline alone will give you energy. But footballers on a football pitch, when they're not quite sure what's going on, there are doubts, and the team's not attached and not a unit.
You have to analyse the game. That's what we're here to do.
That's our job. But let's talk about the positive.
But strange, before we move on, it was weird because we was doing so I live in Harrogate.
I know.
Gareth Southgate lives in Harrogate.
Oh, God.
And I think I was a little bit critical of one of their games in the past. And I went to a coffee shop. It's called Hoxton's. I go there regular. Yeah. Really, really good Hoxton's.
If you want to meet Micah Richards, go to Hoxton's in Harrogate.
What do you say? Periphery of the vision? Is that right? Is that the right word?
Peripheral vision.
On my peripheral vision, I see him, and we sort of locked eyes. Yeah. But I know I'd be negative, not negative about him, but just the way England had played.
Yeah.
I don't know if he
Did you say anything?
I avoided him.
Oh, Mike,
but normally I go up and say hello and all that. But when someone gives you an eye, I'd like to say, ooh.
Do you think he just thought, I've seen his face somewhere, I've no idea what it is.
I can't quite work out where it came from. And it wasn't an awkward moment. And he probably would say, it was nothing.
I'll tell you something. There's no way that he would be watching television. He would be looking at social media. God, do you think he listens to the rest of football? I suspect he doesn't.
No, but it gets out there. No matter what. And I know you're an old.
Do you not think he knows that England didn't play well? He said it himself.
He knows.
He said it himself.
He knows. But it's just the fact that it's not nice. No. We're just analysing the game. It's nothing personal, is what we're trying to say.
And that's my point that I made at the very beginning. The last thing in the world we want to do is we want to be critical. We want England to perform and play beautiful football and everything be brilliant, because those are the best television shows you ever do. When England perform, it's magical. It's magical. It's broadcasting is brilliant. When they don't play well, it's really hard because you've got to be truthful. And it's sad. But positives. Marc Guéhi.
Wow.
What a performance. What made it even more special was the team was struggling.
Correct. I think the fact when you're looking at a defender, someone who And he had an interview where he didn't want it to make it about him.
So
humble.
Yeah.
So that makes you like the player even more. Big shoes to fill in Harry Maguire in terms of the record for England and the clean sheets that they've kept.
He can defend, by the way.
But he's just to come from Palace, where I'm not going to say it's easy to play for Palace, but there's less pressure than a Man United, let's say. You come into the England squad and then you perform in your first game. And a lot of people say, okay, he's done it once. Can he do it again? He was England's best player again, which is not a good thing for England, but for him, it's amazing. And there was a moment in the game where he sort of
made a mistake.
But how would you recover from that mistake? And that's how you know he's going to be a top player.
Take you back to the TV coverage at the start of the show. How do you recover?
That's how you know.
That was, for me, almost, apart from Harry Kane's goal, almost the favourite moment of the game, because we were all going, we're going to do a piece on Marc Guéhi. Marc Guéhi's been brilliant. He's blocked out. He's been absolutely superb with and without the ball. And then he makes a mistake and we all go, oh my God, he's made a mistake. And then he gets back, but he didn't just panic. He didn't dive in. He's got back really quickly because he's quick.
Very quick,
which is really useful. And then he waited and he chose his moment and his timing was perfect to block it.
But he had different varieties of slow service, David says. Zoom on David over there. He's a diva, look at him.
What a diva.
Absolute diva. We're giving him the finest of reds and he's still complaining.
Dino, they're loosening up a little bit now. They
I need to get my run back down there.
Look at him! The manager's corner over there.
Oh, Mike is now doing a selfie. I mean, this podcast is just going down there. Oh, hello. That Marc Guéhi moment was the favourite part of the game, although I thought, Declan's pass to him wasn't great either. It wasn't put him under pressure. But what a recovery.
But I think it was just his overall game as well. We can talk about last-ditch tackles and all that, but he was aggressive. I think the word I used in the first game was he was calm. But he had to be on the front foot today. He dropped off and covered Stones when he needed to, made the mistake and recovered. And his all-round game was excellent.
Yeah.
And long may it continue. I mean, we've talked about England's defensive sort of unit and what's made them so good.
The weird
in
thing
the
is,
past.
The weird thing is, everyone talks about England's weakness. We're really worried about the defence. Stones and Guéhi,
Brilliant.
Walker, we always know is a good defender, and Trippier's such an intelligent footballer. Actually, that's been the strength.
That's the best part of the team.
It's because they've had to defend a lot.
But that's what makes us not be negative, but you got this amazing talent in forward areas, and we're talking about the defence as a positive. But that's good because when the forward part clicks,
and it might, because you watch John Stones, don't you? And he was brilliant defender. I mean, he's a wonderful player, but you never saw him step out of the back four.
That's what we're talking about.
Yeah, I mean,
the combinations,
strengths,
the running into midfield, the playing out. I remember the game in the Champions League final against Inter Milan, not this year, the year before. And for a centre-half stepping into midfield, it was one of the most impressive performances I've ever seen. And seeing John Stones just playing in the back four and not playing out from the back.
Do you know what it reminds me of? I spoke to Rio about this, is that, the great England team, the golden generation. And Sven was the manager and he was very organised and he had his own way of playing. But I remember Rio saying to me, Sven always said to me, right, you cannot go beyond the halfway line. I play 4-4-2. You've got to stick in the back four. I mean, Rio's great strength was on the ball, wasn't it? And it's almost like that again. Almost like that again.
But that's going to be a shame for the team.
Yeah.
But
I've got a feeling
I'm
they're going to turn
optimistic.
it around.
I really am, and I know the fact of we're talking about England and some of their deficiencies. I really thought that Denmark were really organised. I feel as though
they're tactically way better.
They've got it on. They really, in terms of defensively, they knew where they need to be. The wing backs although Christensen made a mistake for the goal when Kyle Walker got
he
the end.
slept.
But he thought he dealt with the first, but he didn't see the second one behind him in Kyle Walker. Yeah. But in terms of what the game plan was, so you've had managers. You go out there and have a game plan, and you've got different scenarios within the game. They knew exactly what they needed to do, whether they needed to defend.
That's my point, Micah. That's England didn't have
pass
that.
through the line. But Denmark, when they needed to pass forward today, they passed forward, but with conviction. Why are we not doing that? But anyway, I just thought we got to give Denmark a little bit of credit. Yeah. We had the moment with Christian Eriksen as well, where we had the first game where he had a heart attack.
We talked that
we covered
before,
that. But then to come back, score a goal, and then play well today in the second game. It was just a great moment.
Do you know what I hope? I hope they got back. Well, they wouldn't have got back in time, but if not, I hope they watch Spain play Italy.
And how they pressed.
How they pressed high. And
Williams.
They didn't do it for 20 minutes. They did it the whole game, Micah.
Williams on the left.
Because they haven't got the quality at the top.
On the right.
Yeah.
They're just pressed with a purpose.
Yeah.
There's so many times we're talking about punditry or the different ways you can play, but I actually think it's easier when you press. If you win it back in a couple...
Because you win it high, you haven't got far to go.
You've not got 30 yards to run.
Exactly.
That's the whole point of it. It helps them that they've got Morata up front because he can run in behind. He stretches defence, which is the point that you was talking about.
Yeah.
You've got young Yamin Lamal on the right-hand side.
Fantastic talent.
Williams on the left-hand side. And then obviously you've got Rodri. And when we had the debate about Rodri and Rice, I said the difference is with Rodri and Rice. Rodri dictates games. Rice is unbelievable, amazing. But he needs to start to control the tempo of games.
But I still think that also comes from the way the whole team plays.
Agreed.
And that comes from the coach.
I agree with that.
They're getting louder over there, by the way. Have you noticed?
I know, yeah.
I think we might need to wrap it up and join them.
Yes, let's join them.
Let's join them.
If you can't beat them, join them.
Yes, absolutely. We'll be over there in just a second. All right, lads.
Now you be quiet. We're finished now.
Conversation.
That's it from The Rest is Football. For now, we'll be back. We'll get Shearer's view tomorrow, probably.
Yes, we need it.
We do. We really do. Goodbye from me.
And goodbye from me. Have a good week, guys.
And goodbye from that lot over there.